This podcast is brought to you by Rebecca Cassells of the Rising Dawn series. Do you like violence? Do you like smut? Are you tired of the stereotypical novels of werewolf romance out there and want something a little bit different? Then pick up Sparked Revolution, Book 1 in the Rising Dawn series by Rebecca Cassells. Available on Amazon, in Kindle and paperback. You too can become a sponsor of Stories, The True and the Fictional by heading on over to buymeacoffee.com/STTATF or follow the link in the show notes. Hello guys and welcome to another episode of Stories, The True and the Fictional. Sadly, Ryan is not with us. You probably noticed he hasn't been in a few episodes. He's back in hospital, but just keep him in your thoughts. He's doing well from what I've heard, and I'm sure he'll be back when he's raring to go. So it's another solo interview with a man with the most Australian name I've ever heard, Craig Ford. How are you going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the podcast today.
Yeah, we're gonna have a great conversation because we've already had one before recording. So, before we dive right in, Craig, my favorite question is, who is Craig Ford?
That's an interesting question. An interesting way to phrase that. It's like normally you just go introduce yourself and you just say your background, but who is Craig Ford? I think probably a little bit of mix of probably a cybersecurity techie kind of geek guy with a bit of mix of writing in there with a bit of a flair. So, but so 20 odd years in sort of that tech ICT kind of background, cybersecurity, probably the last 10 years. Writing for me probably only started probably about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But written, I think it's 6 books now, another 2 in the works, and chugging along quite well.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll probably talk about AI a bit later, but you might use that as a little guide to make it quicker.
It's a fun topic. It's a fun topic.
I know. Yeah, I do want to get into that later, but we're going to do the icebreakers first, something we give all our guests. If you ever make it on for a second time, there is a second round of icebreakers. But
sounds like fun.
We're going to hit you with the first one. So, and just to give you an idea, you don't have to be political. A lot of people like to be political with some of these answers, but it's all about the fun. So, personally, if you could get rid of one thing in the world, what would it be?
I think if we're going the political path, obviously the simple answer is probably wars. But I think personally, I hate spiders. If we didn't have spiders, I would love that. So I think that's probably my simplest answer. But understanding the fact that we need spiders, they probably need to stick around. But not a fan of spiders.
Well, you could just say, make it locale, like no spiders inside. Or
yes, that's a good option. Yes, just keep them on the outside. Yeah,
like I've always said, I'm okay with spiders, just not when they're on my car.
True. Crawling around when you're trying to drive is not a fun experience.
No, it's more so when it's dusk or dawn or at night and you can't tell if it's inside or outside. It's usually outside, but I've had that moment where I'm just like, I was convinced it was inside, so I cracked the window and then it fell in my lap.
So you let it,
yeah. And then me and my mate, I think we would have been about 20 at the time, handbrake on, one of those in the middle of the streets. We jumped out of the car, doors open, we're going, you get it, you get it. Yeah. If it's in my house though, it's like, because where I live in the mountains, I get them all the time, and it's just Tupperware container, food, throw it outside, eaten by a kookaburra.
Yep. I'm the same.
I'm okay with that.
Let them outside, get rid of them, and they're all good. Out of sight.
Yeah, ironically, as you can see behind me, Spider-Man.
That's cool though. Yeah.
How does that work?
It's strange, isn't it?
I know, because Stan Lee was told that when he came up with the idea, and they go like, "No one likes spiders," But
it worked out really well for him though.
It did, and Tom Holland.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. What's something on your bucket list?
Well, I've never traveled outside of Australia, so I think I want to get out there and I want to do that old school kind of Mustang cruise of like the Route 66.
Yes.
That would be so fun. I'm a big fan of the old school kind of Mustang. So I think, top down, nice cruise along, just big road trip. That'd be 100% on the bucket list.
Road tripping through the US. Yeah, I've got doing this podcast. I've met a lot of people from the US, and we're going like, I could probably do it without having to pay for accommodation,
Which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
going along, meeting the people along the way.
yeah,
It'd be kind of
yeah,
fun. Yeah.
yeah. Because I've actually never even been on a plane, Um,
Oh, wow.
yeah, like
That's
I'm old
crazy.
school. I've
You're old school like the driving.
Yeah. Well, our country is so big, and if you're on a plane, you miss all the in betweens. Like, obviously, if I went to Perth, I would fly to Perth because I don't need to stare at desert for, 2 days.
That's a long enough flight.
Like,
Yeah.
But no, I've been, up as far as Townsville, down as low as Victor Harbour. I got housemates that used to live up where I did, and then they moved back to South Australia, and I just went on a road trip down there. Did Kosciuszko a few months ago, and I love the driving around, seeing everything.
It's a good way to do it. I think it's
Yeah,
much more gives you a bit more of a connection to it, makes a bit
yeah,
more of an experience. I think the flight's
yeah,
just, you got the
yeah,
airport, you get there, you turn up, that's it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, road trip's
Um,
definitely better.
yeah. I didn't do it in a Mustang, unfortunately, but
I haven't done one in a Mustang either yet, but I've got it on the list. Got it on the
it's
list.
on the list. All right, we'll check in with you in a year's time to see how that's going.
I'll have to work on that.
All right, the big one. In your opinion, what is the greatest sitcom ever made?
Oh, that's a controversial one, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Personally, I think it has to be probably a close draw, probably between, I would say, Big Bang, The Bang Theory,
Yep.
or maybe How I Met Your Mother. I quite like both, but
Wow.
I think
Yeah.
if it's probably the winner would have to be The Big Bang Theory. I think it'd have to be slightly in front, just because it's kind of connects to me on my,
Yeah.
nerdy kind of level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think definitely Big Bang Theory.
What about the UK's IT crowd?
Never really got into it. Everyone tells
Really?
me I've
Yeah.
probably seen maybe half an episode. It's
Yeah.
like it's crazy. But
Well,
yeah, everyone tells me it's great,
it's
but I've never got into it.
it's pretty quirky. But it's five seasons, which is astonishing for the UK because they usually do 2 seasons with 6 episodes in a season or something. It's like they're not known for long content.
Yeah.
Like even like the UK Office was like 1 season or something, and then the
So
American one
that's their thing,
goes
just
for
quick, short, that's it, done.
yeah. It's like we're done. Like even you think about Mr. Bean. I don't know how long that went for, but probably not as long as we thought it was.
Yeah,
Um,
it feels like it's, like 50 seasons, but it's probably like 3 or 4.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I love Big. I got on Big Bang late. I think season 4. I think the episode that got me the most was the robot arm with how Howard makes a robot
Yeah.
arm,
Yeah.
and then I
Yeah.
was just like, this show's hilarious because I used to hate the
Yeah.
canned laughter. I used to oppose canned laughter, but then when it's funny, you kind of don't notice it.
Yeah, it kind of infects you and it sort of makes you kind of sit there and chuckle
Yeah,
along with it. But yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah. They do it well on that show though. But
How I Met Your Mother has canned laughter, but you do not notice it. Like when you say it has canned laughter, people go, "What?" Like
it
because it's
does.
just
It does. Yeah.
it's light. It's light. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but good answer. I really, yeah. They ended it very well, um, which is rare for television.
And I think if
And
they dragged it out much longer, it would have just kind of ruined it. So I think
yeah,
they kind of
well,
made the right
yeah.
choices. But
I felt a lull in season 7 and 8. I think it just kind of just slumped for me.
started to fizzle off. Yeah.
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 And I was just like, this just isn't funny anymore. And then my mate said, "No, watch it. It's got a really good ending." Okay, I went back and I was like, "Oh, no, what? Finished it. Good stuff." All right. What is your zombie apocalypse plan, if any?
I think I don't have a specific one, but I reckon I got in-laws that have a farm in the middle of New South Wales. Lots of cows, lots of sheep, chicken, vegetables, everything. I think
Yep.
right there, it's middle of nowhere. Like every farm, have a few rifles and stuff as you need them. But
Yeah.
so I think there, go bunker down. I think that's probably the
Remote.
best thing. Yeah, nice and
Rem
remote.
remote location. Because it
Set it
always
all up, hopefully
yeah.
nice and sort
Yeah.
of protected by the time, they all sort of come to you, because otherwise metropolis sort of areas is where they probably hit first, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but ironically it'd probably happen out in the country somewhere.
it would. It would. Just my luck, it'd probably right next door.
It'd be like like because it's always the lab theory, it's always people doing something in the lab and then it happens.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it'd be funny if it went the other way because it'd be a slower spread. Interesting. That'd be an interesting take. Now this next and final icebreaker question, I've got a feeling that I know what your answer might be, but
Mhm. Mhm.
So
I'm interested. Yeah.
Mr. Elon Musk calls you up and offers you to test drive his new electric time machine. Because let's face it, if anyone was to invent time travel, it would be Elon Musk,
It would be him. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it would be a Tesla or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you do? Where do you go?
I think probably just because of my love of the Mustangs, I think I'd have to go back in the heyday,
Oh,
back when they sort of, around that sort of really late 60s, mid 70s, somewhere in that sort of time frame when the Mustang was the car, experienced that whole,
yeah.
cruising around in the old school Mustang thing. I think I couldn't help myself. Elon
Yeah.
would probably hate that because, obviously it's going to ruin his whole effect of, the electric cars and the way he's
Yeah.
going. But,
Yeah.
and I think you're right. If anyone was going to do it, love him or hate him,
Yeah.
he's the guy that would do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's funny because when we came up with this question, it was before he became this controversial figure. Like,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And then people like some people like you can tell them go, do I have to? Like, going like, come on, it's a lighthearted funny joke.
I think with him though, like when you think about him as a guy, right? Like, yes, he's a bit quirky and he's a bit
Yeah.
eccentric, but I think some of the things that he's going to succeed in his lifetime and even the things
Yeah.
that's going to come because of the things he's made,
Yeah.
you got to love the guy to a point.
Yeah.
Like going,
Yeah.
wow, that's the
Yeah.
stuff you sort of affected. So
Yeah. Well, it's innovation. That's
yeah,
what it is. And I don't think
yeah,
there's that many people out there that are doing it. Like, I mean, look at Apple and iPhone. It's like the same iPhone every year, just costs more.
just
Yeah,
slightly,
like,
slightly tweaked to make it look a little bit different,
yeah,
slightly different
yeah.
colors. Yeah, but yeah.
They're
I
like,
don't think I'd want to work with him though. I think he'd be
it
a
might be a bit.
taskmaster.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would be. Yeah. Um, no, I wouldn't mind hanging out with him once or twice, but I wouldn't.
Just for the experience, just to
I
see
would.
what would come out
Yeah,
of his brain, like just ooze out.
yeah.
I think, yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Be a best friend or anything like that. I mean,
No,
no.
but definitely would be a great guy to meet, though. I
Yeah,
think just at least even just once, just to see,
yeah,
just for the experience itself. I believe.
yeah, yeah. Here is security is insane. Like,
I bet it would be. I bet it would be.
like.
And I want to ask you a question. What
Okay.
did you think my answer would be for the Elon Musk?
I was assuming because you love cyberpunk, you would have gone forward to see if
Oh, yeah.
to
I see
see
your point. Yeah,
if cyberpunk ever comes to be,
yeah. Which it probably will eventually. I think. I think
Yeah.
long term, I think we have,
Yeah.
whether we like it or not, it will be some sort of part of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I see your point though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well,
But
you
yeah,
got a
no,
lot
sticking to
of
my
people.
old school. Sticking to my old school.
I know. I respect that. I respect that.
Yeah,
Going back to when Mustangs were affordable,
yeah. Yes, when they were affordable. Yes.
Like who would have thought about like every other car loses value, over time.
Yep.
And
Not them. Nope.
they're like, nope, come here. Awesome. Awesome. Great answers. This podcast is brought to you by Martin Kearns and the Valor of Valhalla series. In the battle between two ancient evils, can one naive young man become the last hope against powerful creatures of legend? Beneath the Veil is the gripping first book in the Valor of Valhalla dark urban fantasy series. If you like reluctant heroes, infernal myths, and bloody epic clashes, then you'll love Martin Kearns' formidable foray into the unknown. So head on over to readkearns.com and grab yourself a copy of Beneath the Veil today. Well, we are going to talk about you and all your books and all that stuff now. So, well, let's talk about how you got into cybersecurity first. Like, that must have been, like, was it something you wanted to do or you just fell into it?
Sort of, I guess, kind of fell into it a little bit. Probably the more IT kind of space.
Yeah.
I think I started out in a sort of little regional New South Wales country town. Just was looking for my first kind of long-term job, and I was always sort of a bit of a natural in the techie kind of space. Like I loved electronics, loved anything to do with tech. So I got myself a little traineeship in a small little IT shop, and I think I stuck it out there for about 5 years before I moved to the big smoke up to Brisbane. But yeah, it's 20 plus years now. I think it's probably, I would say probably the last 10 moving towards cybersecurity. And it was a bit of an accident that I fell into cybersecurity. I crazily decided I wanted to do a master's degree, and thought I wanted to be like a CIO, like a senior IT manager. And I enrolled in a master's degree and done a incident response kind of unit as part of my master's. Just randomly thought, oh, digital forensics and incident response sounds really cool. Like, being a bit of a nerdy kind of guy, bit of a techie. And I did that unit and loved it. Ever since then, it's just always that push towards, cybersecurity and doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, I went in down a ethical hacking, pen testing kind of path, and got to break some systems and not go to jail for it with a nice stack of paper to say I don't. So that's always great. But yeah, so it was I guess probably the simplest answer is just sort of fell in it, followed the path, and found something I loved and kept going.
Yeah,
writing's probably very similar, but
yeah. We will get that in a second. I'm super, because cybersecurity is something regular folk really don't think about all that matter.
Yep.
All that moment. Like, so are you guys integrating AI into what you're doing now, or at all, or is it just because in the movies and in your head it's just like you sit there, go, someone's trying to get through the firewall. Like,
it'd be nice if it was simple as that. It's not quite that simple. The hacks and stuff you see like on the movies and stuff, they take like 30 seconds. In real life, that's probably a 3-week hack. So like, let's see, you're looking for any tiny little bug, but literally the similar sort of, obviously Hollywood flair, they always make it a bit more entertaining, a bit more fun, but generally they stick to a reasonable guideline sometimes. If you look like some of the more well-respected kind of hacker kind of movies, you probably get a probably more realistic look with an accelerated timeline. But generally AI is kind of slowly integrating. I think the bad guys are using it better than us at the moment. They're integrating in a lot of their tools, but I think cybersecurity long term is going to probably use it more for probably that, responding to incidents and breaches and stuff, because it will help get rid of the noise, I guess you would say. So you can get rid of the noisy stuff and clean up the logs and sort of give us the answers of what we want to go, this is something you need to look at.
Yeah.
I think over time that's how it will work. But yeah, it'll definitely be there, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. So will you ever be able to get rid of all these spam messages we get? Is that a cybersecurity thing?
I wish. Literally, that is a bane of my existence, I think. Because I reckon probably, I would say 80+% of any cyber incidents or breaches is usually because of a spam sort of human clicking on something.
Yeah.
And I don't like the word, because a lot of cyber people say, humans are the people are the weakest link. I think that's wrong. I think you go, humans are our greatest asset if we teach them how to spot the bad stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, I go the other path. I like a bit of education approach, but I think AI will probably help us with that to a point. It'll help us identify them better, and we can sort of filter out more, but they make too much money out of it. It's too successful in the short term. They're not going to get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to your books. Like, how did you go from cybersecurity into writing? Obviously, you said you fell into it.
Yes.
Was it an idea that just came out of nowhere and went, I got to write this down, or was it, I want to write a book?
No, it was sort of I went to, I think it was the last cybersecurity conference in Canberra. I think it was the ACSC conference, so the Australian Cybersecurity Centre conference they did. I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago now. Literally, I worked for like a managed service provider at the time, and essentially all the conversations, all the presentations and everything that were happening at the time were going, they weren't identifying how big of a risk MSPs were to their clients by the fact that they hold all the keys to all of the different clients. So essentially, when I walked away, I was like, someone's got to talk about this. Why isn't someone talking about this? So I pitched an article, which I'd never written really anything before. I pitched an article to CSO Online and said, if I write something about this, would you publish it? And they're like, write something, send it through. We'll have a look. If we like it, we'll publish it. And I think it was 200+ articles later, I wrote for CSO. That's how my cyber journey started. Wow. The writing journey started. Yeah. So just found that problem, went, someone's got to talk about it, someone's got to fix it. So just literally fell in it.
It's usually the way. I didn't set out to write a book. I got my own book. I mean, we're with the same publisher, right? You're with Shoreline.
Yep. Yes.
Yep. They approached me, like I self-published, made every mistake under the sun as you do, because I didn't know what you was doing.
I did that at the start.
It's just like, I didn't even know about book formatting or anything. I thought you just write and you go, okay, there you go. And then,
just put it out there and just let it go, right?
Well, it's it's still selling, there's still a few typos in there and all that. I went back and patched things up, but no, then Shoreline kind of I learned a lot through them about how the process worked and all that stuff,
Yep.
and it was now I know how to do it.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know?
the same now. I've learned so much through that process, and I think
Yeah,
the end products by doing that sort of process, going through the editing and sort of
yeah,
refining it and really learning to hone your own skills, because that's,
yes,
particularly, I don't know about the editor that you've been sort of working with, but Steph is the one I've been working with, and she really sort of pushes me to be a little bit better every time I
yeah,
sort of send something through. She's like, you can do, you should try this, stretch yourself here, and
yeah,
I think it makes me a better author. So I think it's
yeah,
it's a good process,
yeah.
but
I didn't have any of that because I don't know. They said, oh, it's good. Just change a few words because we want to make it a kid's book. I had I said bastard in there or whatever. And they go,
yeah,
oh, we
it's
want to
probably
make it
frowned upon in the kids' books.
yeah. And then so I just went like, what's a cuss word from the 1900s? Like it's like I think I went with pillocks or whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah. Something's
Yeah,
acceptable, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, that they said it was fine. Like, but I put a lot of work into mine because mine wasn't like it wasn't a novel or anything. It was just like letters. Here's some letters. For those playing at home, Letters from the Emu War is my book. It's all written in letters, newspaper articles, and journal entries, and that's all it was. It's like there wasn't much to change. I just they said I could have some more art, so I got some more art commissioned, and that was about it. But
It's an interesting structure. I've seen your book. It's an interesting way you put it together. I quite liked it, but
yeah, well, I just came up with the idea because originally it was going to be a screenplay, and then that didn't happen. It got close to getting made, but then everything fell apart. That's the way Hollywood works.
that is the way Hollywood works. Yeah.
And then I thought, I could do it as a book, or you know what? I don't know where it came from, but probably because I watched Hamilton and the American Revolution and all that. I was just like, oh, wartimey letters, and it fell into place. But um, so I think next I'm gonna probably start working on actual novellas or something like writing, and then people will probably have a you know more to say, more ways to help me shape and
Potentially,
yeah,
potentially.
yeah, yeah,
Those the first novels are a little scary to sort of start, but they're quite fun to do once you sort of get
yeah,
in the swing of it. So
yeah. I could never do like a 300,000 word novel or anything like that.
it's huge.
I I would not have the patience for that. you know. All right. Well, what was the first book you wrote? Was it I am a hacker? A
Yeah,
hacker I
so
am. Sorry.
a hacker I am, yeah, and
Yeah.
it sort of went down that same path as you. I went down that, self-published kind of path.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a similar kind of thing to the journalist stuff when I went down that approach. It was one of my colleagues, they'd been reading my articles and they're like, you should really, really write a book in this kind of style. So it's
Yeah.
like I did. I gave it a crack and sort of put there's basically two books in that sort of series. It's they were both self-published before I sort of went down the novel path.
Yep.
And literally it's sort of there's 50 topics in each, all around sort of cybersecurity, cyber education, and sort of
Yep.
my path into cyber. And I wrote it with sort of stories and as less little jargon as possible, because when I
Yeah.
was doing that first master's I talked about, I hated cybersecurity books. They were so
Yeah.
dry and horrible to read and
Yeah.
not really accessible for anyone. Like you sit there and go, who wrote this and how are they supposed to, anyone that just picks
Yeah.
that up, how are you going to understand half of this? So yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to do that a little bit better. So I did. I done those first two books and yeah, sort of changed I guess the way that you would sort of see a cybersecurity book,
Yeah.
make it a bit more entertaining, a bit more fun. So
Yeah. So does it follow a crook or a good guy?
no, it's sort of like so it's like I guess it's more of a standalone chapter. So each one is standalone
All
based
right.
on
Yeah.
a bit of a topic. The hacker novel series follows a couple of characters, but
Yeah.
the first ones are more cyber education specific.
Yeah.
But if we talk about the sort of the novel series I went into with Shoreline, the first sort of,
Yeah.
I guess you say more traditional sort of style publishing. It's sort of I'd been writing for the Women in Security magazine. I wanted to sort of encourage more young women to sort of have a bit of an interest of,
Yep.
cybersecurity and STEM in general. So I was like, as a, guy, early sort of late 30s at the time when I sort of started that sort of process, I'm like, what could I do as a writer or a cybersecurity guy to encourage more young girls a bit of an interest? So I created Sam, the lead character, or Samantha, for my Foresight novel series, female hacker, teenage hacker, and it's first person in her mind, where you sort of
cool. Yeah.
follow her thought processes, her whole path as she sort of figures out where she is in the, the hacker's world, and gives you that real insight into a hacker's life and a bit sort of, what would happen inside a hacker's mind. And being that I have that red team pen testing background, I could really lean on the grounded technical sort of skill set I had to sort of make it as realistic as possible with a bit of a Hollywood flair, of course, because it's a novel. You got to have a bit of fun, but and then I did something really a little different with my book too. I actually switched that same first person, but I switched to the bad guy's perspective in the second book. So you get some of the same story, but then extend it more and see the difference in choices. I wanted that whole yin and yang kind of similar kind of people, different kind of approach, how they ended up in their different paths. It just, it was quite fun. Hard to intertwine all the story together, but it was quite fun.
Awesome. Well, your latest book, Vulcan?
Yes.
Yes.
Book number 3.
Book number 3.
And in the novel series, number 6 in total. But
oh wow, that's you've written a lot more than me.
Too many probably, but I'm still going.
I know if you're enjoying it and if people are reading it. So that was out 25th of June, yeah?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, 25th of June. Sort of it's number 3 in that sort of hacker fantasy. So that is that book 1 with Sam, and then you got Shadow, and then I switch it back to Sam as well to do the book 3 and sort of really push the story to that next level.
Yeah.
And currently writing book 4 for that, which is Glimmer, which it's taken a little while chugging through, but really pushing it along. So,
well, fourth, I'm sure the fourth one's really stretching your creativity and coming up with new ideas and all that.
Yep.
But what's the primary story of Vulcan? Give it a plug. Sell it.
Yes. So essentially, it's sort of without giving too much of the plot away for the sort of story, it sort of puts you back into sort of that intertwined sort of story between Foresight and Shadow. So they're their hacker handles of both the characters. So essentially, it sort of intertwines their story and sort of pushes them to almost a breaking point, I think, and sort of some really fun sort of hacker exploits and some damage and destruction along the way, which always makes it nice and entertaining. I'm told it's, if you've read, I haven't actually read his books, but Stieg Larsson, I'm told it's very similar style to sort of the Stieg Larsson kind of books with the, I think it's the girl with the dragon tattoo, I think they call it.
Right, yeah.
That same sort of style where it's sort of, almost a cross between your, hacker story, but a bit of spy sort of, thriller kind of side to it as well. But yeah, I'm told it's a pretty good read, but I could be biased. But
Well, I get that. I totally get that vibe just from the cover alone. So how did you approach like getting the cover made and all that? Did you have a push and pull with Shoreline? Did you know what you wanted? Did they suggest stuff?
Yeah, it sort of was a bit of, sort of let them sort of go a little bit with what they wanted, but I had a very specific, I'm very anti-hacker in the hoodie kind of look. I'm like, do not put a hacker hoodie on my cover. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Not happening. I won't publish if you're doing that. So I sort of, wanted particularly with Vulcan, I sort of, wanted to get back and sort of, follow the, Sam and her sort of experience and sort of give it that whole intrigue kind of look, which, I think it sort of links together quite well with the Foresight and Shadow covers, which, focus more directly on those individual characters. But yeah, I think they did reasonably well. I let them have a bit of the creativity, but and I love the if you look inside the actual printed versions of my books, it's got the hacker sort of matrix kind of style code coming down on the top of that. I love that little twitch. It's cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. Do you know if they used it? Because I'm looking at both covers. They use the same model, or because it's got on Foresight?
They look slightly different. Yeah. 2 different ones, I think. Yeah.
So I don't see Shoreline hiring an actress and going, let's do a photo shoot.
No, probably not. Probably not.
I don't think that's in their wheelhouse.
It's probably past them for the moment, I think.
Well, with the amount of books that they pump out, they probably don't have time.
That's probably too much to do. But
unless I could imagine it. This is how it is in my head now. It's like all right, we've got all these covers to do, and they just parade all these actors in, and wardrobe changes and stuff. Come on.
Maybe we might get to the specific models or something for mine when they make them into a movie or something, right?
Yeah. I no, look to me it sounds like it'll make a great movie.
Yep.
Um
Yeah, I reckon a really good movie or like a kind of a cool TV series. Sort of
look,
like that Dark
yeah.
Angel kind of vibe where it's a bit more
Uh,
gringy,
Dark Angel.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah,
Dark Angel.
yeah. I love
We're, sh-
that. Dark
we're
Angel's cool.
we're really showing our age here, Dark.
Yes, I know, I know.
All I remember is apart from Jessica Alba, Jensen
Yeah,
Ackles, and then there was that like a lion dog man or something. Was he a
yeah, yeah,
lion?
yeah. And the whole makeup and everything is like,
Yeah,
kind of whole 90s, 80s kind of style
yeah,
to it. You're like, oh yeah, it's kind of nostalgic.
yeah, yeah. Well, I found that I don't know if you got Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Have you watched Sweet Tooth?
I haven't watched Sweet Tooth. No.
It's really good. Like it's based on a like the comic is a lot darker, but they use a lot in the show. They use a lot of practical effects and miniatures, and they really hold back on the CGI. But it's basically a post-apocalyptic world where hybrids have started being born. So Sweet Tooth is a kid with deer antlers and deer ears, but
Hmm.
he's humanoid, that sort of thing. So it's basically people are getting sick, like really sick and like dying off. And anyone that's pregnant is giving birth to a hybrid and not a human baby. Um,
Oh wow, that's an interesting
it's
storyline.
yeah,
Sounds fun.
it's by a guy called Jeff Lemire. But it is brilliant, just like the whole, old school um practical effects. It's like the ears wiggle,
It
you
sounds
got
kind of cool.
kids with tail. It's just incredible. And in season
So
two,
Sweet
that
Tooth, is it? Sweet
Sweet
Tooth.
Tooth,
I like
definitely.
that. Yeah.
Season three
Yeah.
just dropped, and there's only three seasons. They did the smart thing, not the Stranger Things thing, where it's just like, when you film with kids, they grow up.
Yeah, they do that.
Like they're going to drop season five of Stranger Things, and they're hi, it's just
Yeah, it's like,
it's
come on, we
over.
know they're a bit older now. Come on, stop
It's like
it.
you cannot hide that they're an adult. Like the teenagers back in, again, the 90s movies and stuff like that. They're like, hey, I'm a
Yeah,
like,
30-year-olds, 40-year-olds.
yeah. No, but Sweet Tooth knew what they're doing. Like you can definitely tell that the kids aged, but they did three seasons. That's it. They're too old to do anymore, and it's just
Gonna have to
brilliant.
check that out. Gonna have to check it out for sure.
Highly, highly recommend. I love the old school practical effects. I think that's what made Mandalorian such a success because they used the old school practical effect. They did use CGI, but come on, baby Yoda or Grogu,
Yeah,
very,
yeah.
practical, and it's just like that's what. Um,
It's like the old school turtles, like on your shirt, like the old school movies. Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes.
Love that.
However, there's a lot of mistakes in those movies.
Yeah, there is. There is.
Um, Apparently when it switched to widescreen, you could get it on widescreen. Like you could just see all like there's a cameraman hiding behind the table.
But that does not surprise me.
Um, oh, seeing the eyes through one of the turtles' mouth. Oh man, it's so much fun. Look, I love it to death.
Yeah,
That's what I grew up on.
yeah.
Um,
Me too. Old school fan.
but
Won't deny it.
Jim Henson, yeah, he was such a master. Um,
It's
and
very
yeah,
cool. We are
yes,
definitely showing our age now, though, aren't we?
yeah. I don't care.
I don't either.
I
It's
can
cool.
proudly say that I
Yeah,
was born the same year as the Ninja Turtles were.
yeah.
That's my claim to fame. I met Kevin Eastman last year at Supernova, and I gave him a copy of my
Oh, that
book.
would be cool. That would be very cool.
I gave him a copy of my book, and he goes, "Did you sign it?" And I'm like, "What? Here, sign it." I'm like, "Oh,
Okay, that is very cool.
you know."
That is cool.
He is genuinely the nicest guy, and he loves his fan. Like makes like, the line was so long, so long, and I had like a cowabunga pass or whatever, so I got like all this bonus stuff, and I got to jump ahead of the queue.
Oh, that's cool for you.
Yeah, yeah, it was. But look, they had who else was there? They had uh Tyler Hoechlin, who's Superman from the Superman and Lois TV series.
Hmm.
He was there, and then they had Alyssa Milano, and they were the big stars.
Hmm.
But Kevin Eastman was like
He'd be the one I'd want to see.
he was um yeah, and like genuinely the nicest dude. Like he would take time, talk to you.
I love that when they actually are still grounded, still nice people. Makes them
yeah,
so much more likable, I think. But
yeah, yeah. It is a shame that because Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, like they had a falling out, um, and then they don't really work with each other anymore.
it's a
Um,
shame. It's a
yeah,
shame.
but I think I would have the same thing would have happened to me because they split over the. Do you remember the Next Mutation '90s
Yep.
TV
Yep.
series? They
Yep.
split over the fifth turtle, adding a fifth turtle. You know, I'm going like, well, I didn't like that fifth turtle either. You know.
So is it really worth just separation just for that?
Yeah, yeah. But no, they work differently. Because yeah, after that there was no Turtles until 2003. Anything Turtles 2003, and then that was when Peter Laird took over. And I prefer everything Peter Laird did to Kevin Eastman. I don't hate Kevin Eastman. I love Kevin Eastman, but I think they worked really well together, and I wish they didn't split. You know. But,
Yeah. It's a shame. It is definitely a shame. But
yeah. Anyway, enough about our fandom. Um, well, before I let you go, one, are you working on anything? Oh, you said you're working on book number four?
yeah, so working on book number 4 for the
Yep.
Foresight series.
Yep.
So Glimmer. Um, continue the same sort of story,
Yeah.
I think it's probably about, I would say about a third of the way through writing. So I still got a bit
Oh,
of work to
cool.
do. And
All right.
I'm doing another sort of cyber education book. I'm going to
Oh,
do
cool.
something for a little bit more of an older market.
All right, cool.
I created one with a colleague of mine, co-author Katie Randall, The Shadow World, which is a cyber education book
Yep.
for primary school age kids. So
Oh,
that's sort
cool.
of
Yeah.
7 to about 13-year-olds, which has been quite good. And I sort of, want to make something more for the teenage and adult kind of market, so it makes it a bit more accessible,
Yeah.
nice and easy to learn, something a bit more friendly. But
Yep.
yeah, so it's on the roadmap. I
No,
just got
no.
to get started.
Yeah, cool. So lots of projects coming up.
Too
Um,
many.
how do you find time to do all this writing?
Less sleep, I think, because
Yeah.
I started. You can see in my background that the cyber unicorns to sort of continue to push that. I created that August last
Yeah.
year to continue that cyber education path. So that
Yeah.
was created that full online education platform. So I literally I don't sleep. I write,
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
spend some time with my kids, and then go back to writing or working again.
Yeah. Wow.
Passion projects, you can't help it, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just keep going. But
That's it. You find if you love it, you find time.
that is
Um,
true, very true.
that's definitely true. Well, we've reached the time to plug yourself. So, website, socials, where can people buy your books? All that junk.
Yes, so obviously you can get it from my author site, which is craigfordauthor.com. You can pretty much get all my books there, or you can go to the cyberunicorns.com.au. You can buy them there as well. Um, any of your favorite bookstores, obviously most of them will carry it. If they don't, they can certainly get it in. But yeah, my socials on LinkedIn, Facebook, you can look up Craig Ford Author. You'll find me quite easily, weirdly, for a cybersecurity guy. I'm actually too easy to find. But
Ah,
you can find the links
yeah,
on my websites to find the socials as well. So yeah, definitely follow me if you want to sort of see what I'm doing in the cyberspace and the next
yeah,
book. So
yeah. So with this next question, just blink, yes. Is it twice for yes?
twice for yes, once for no.
Once for no. Yes. Are you actually a front for the real? You know how some people have like a fake presence behind
Ah, yeah,
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 like
yeah, yeah.
okay, this is the man who wrote the book, but really it's someone else. Are you one of those?
No, I'm the man.
Yeah,
You just got to go. Yes.
yeah.
Weirdly,
Awesome.
just we don't have much time left, but weirdly, considering like we're talking about our backstories and how we got into it and
Yep.
stuff, something I don't normally tell too many people is when I was probably year maybe 2 or 3 in primary school, I could
Yep.
barely read and write. So it sort of
Wow.
goes to show you, like, for someone that's now published 6 books with 7 and 8 on the way, doesn't matter where you kind of start, right? Like,
Well,
if you want to get somewhere and you have
yeah,
that ambition, you
yeah.
can get wherever you like. But
That's 100% because in school I just did not pay attention. I
that's me.
was I barely passed it. I think I just passed anything. I barely passed math, but then I go to what was it? Oh yeah, I started a job and it was like with machinery and it was like all this you needed to know numbers, you needed to know math, and then I learnt math the old-fashioned way, like
Yep. Yep.
by applying it to your life. Like I didn't need to know algebra. Like,
yeah, algebra still is like, why do we really need to know that?
well, the reason is so you can help your kids with it.
Yes, that's
So
pretty much the only reason, right?
You learn algebra, and then you never use it again until you have kids, and then they go,
Yep.
"What's this algebra?" And then you go, "Well,
And you're like, oh, jeez.
it's someone in the education department going, we need to keep algebra alive."
Yep. Just for the pain of all the next adult generations. Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, I have mentioned this before on the podcast, but in year 8 or 9, I figured out almost to a T the multiple choice pattern. There was I figured out there was a pattern to any test that had the multiple choice, you know. And then I ended up beating the smartest kid in our school in the math competition.
That's kind of cool because of the recognition of the pattern. Yeah, that's really cool.
I did like it was an hour and a half test or something, and I did it in 20 minutes. yeah, and I was just like, I think I got 97%, and I was that's crazy. Everyone knew I was a dumb kid, and he was like, this guy was almost in tears because he was like proud and he worked hard, and like.
You just learnt the pattern.
I just learnt the pattern, and to this day, I believe that I'm the reason they changed everything.
Well, something you can sort of lay that claim to, right? So
yeah,
it's kind of cool.
I have that, and then the other thing I have claim to is, 10 years ago I left a job after 11 years, and then 6 months later the whole place shut down.
So you were keeping it going, right?
I was keeping it going.
It was you.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. They were like, well, yeah, because I kept in touch with someone for a few months, and they said they've got 4 people doing your job. 4 people. And I go,
you did a pretty good job then.
Yeah. I was like, well, could I go back and then ask for 3 wages? Give them a discount?
That's a pretty clever idea. I like that.
Like, no.
It's a shame.
Yeah. Well, Craig, it's been wonderful chatting. We'll definitely have to get you back on when the next book's out. Or, if you want to give us a cyber seminar or whatever.
Yep. Either way, it's fun. Let's do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening, guys. As you know, thetrueandthefictional@gmail.com if you want to reach out, if you're an author, a filmmaker, any sort of storyteller and you want to come on for a chat, send us an email or stories_podcast on Instagram. Quick reminder to check out our sponsors, Rebecca Cassells. Her series is the Rising Dawn series. If you love a bit of werewolf romance, but not in the traditional sense, it's very, very cool. And then our other sponsor is Martin Kearns, and he has a very cool series called The Valor of Valhalla. Check that out for your dark urban fantasy stuff. Once again, Craig, thanks for coming on.
No worries. It was a really fun chat. I definitely look forward to the next one.
See you guys.
In 1932, the Australian Army declared war on 20,000 emus and lost. It's a part of Australian history that not many know about. Maybe that's because history is written by those who win. So if you want to hear the full story of the Great Emu War of 1932, then check out my book, Letters from the Emu War. Read letters, newspaper articles, and journal entries. With every turn of the page, you will gain a deeper understanding of the life and times of emus at war. So head on over to jabryden.com and grab a signed copy today.